Folks, Donald Trump is waking up to some really terrible news today. An internal polling memo has leaked from the Republican Senate Leadership Fund. This is the group that helps elect Republicans to the United States Senate. And this poll has major warning signs for Senate Republicans, which could be a major drag on the presidential ticket. This also flies in the face of a lot of the public polling that Republicans have been flooding the zone with to try to skew the averages and make it appear as if they have momentum. My name is Brett Meiselas, here with the MeidasTouch Network. Remember to hit subscribe and help us get to 3.5 million subscribers. We can't do it without you. Let's dig right in here to these internal Senate polls. In Maryland, Democrats up 8. In Michigan, Democrats up 8. In Nevada, Democrats up 7. In Ohio, Democrats up 6. In Arizona, Democrats up 5. In Pennsylvania, Democrats up 2. In Wisconsin, Democrats up 1. In Montana, Republicans up 4. And in Texas, Republicans only up by 1. That is the race between Ted Cruz and Democrat Colin Allred. These are not the kinds of numbers that Republicans want to be seeing, and these are not the kinds of numbers Republicans want the public to be seeing. They wanted these numbers hidden. They have now been leaked to the public, and they show the Republicans in a much weaker place than they have been letting on. As Simon Rosenberg, friend of the show and data guru who pushed back against the whole red wave narrative in 2022 says, he goes, with 3 weeks to go, we should note that Republicans have dropped more than 60 polls, 6-0, into the polling averages over the last few weeks to red wave 2024. What he's saying there is, you remember in 2022, at around the same time in the election cycle, the Republicans dumped a whole lot of polls, these public polls, to try to skew the averages to make it appear as if Republicans were going to have a red wave. That was all a mirage. Simon was calling it out then, and he is calling it out now. Simon continues, the only reason they would be doing that is if they thought they were losing. Meanwhile, Donald Trump behind closed doors is in complete and utter panic mode, flying in the face of his public persona, his attempt to project strength out there. Donald Trump is lashing out at donors, as reported by the New York Times, because he says he does not have enough money, he does not think they have his back, and he is screaming at them in private dinners, demanding that they do more to help him in this final stretch of the race. Meanwhile, have you seen Donald Trump recently? Here's a picture of him from over the weekend where you could see his very odd makeup job, I will say, and we were seeing this kind of all weekend. He's just looking absolutely terrible over the past few days, especially, and he's becoming more desperate. He is continuing to double down on his fear-mongering, and he's just trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks. So Donald Trump, over the past weekend in Las Vegas, one of the things he was saying was that Democrats want to ban your cows and they want to take away your windows. What is this guy even talking about? Watch this.
Just come up. They want to do things like no more cows and no windows in buildings. They have some wonderful plans for this country. Honestly, they're crazy.
Vice President Harris was interviewed over the weekend, and she was bringing up Donald Trump's declining mental acuity, and the Harris campaign put together this video featuring Vice President Harris's comments and a clip of Donald Trump, which I think sums this up well. Watch this.
I invite the public to watch his rallies and be the decision maker on his acuity. And you will see in his rallies how he goes off on tangents, how he is not focused on the needs of the American people with solutions to the issues that concern them the most.
A few moments later.
They want to do things like no more cows and no windows in buildings. They have some wonderful plans for this country.
And as we rapidly approach Election Day, Donald Trump was spending his time over the weekend in Coachella, California, for some unknown reason. And Donald Trump had zero respect for his rally goers and for his followers. First off, it was over 100 degrees in Coachella, California. So even hours before Donald Trump was even there, before the event started, people were passing out left and right in the heat. Watch this.
Passed out.
And Trump is trying to pretend that he had 100,000 people in this crowd. Let me show you this picture of the crowd so you can see that that is complete and utter BS. There were, a fair amount of people there, but it really was not that big of a crowd and certainly was nowhere near 100,000 people. Meanwhile, the people in the crowd were subject to just meandering, incoherent, rambling, ranting, and raving from Donald Trump, like when he couldn't even say basic words like this. Watch.
I will very quickly deflate. We are going to take inflation and we are going to deflate it. We are going to deflate inflation. We are going to defeat inflation.
And then after listening to this rambling speech for hours, the rally goers were left stranded without buses. There was only like one campaign bus to bring people back to the parking lot, and they did not show up for hours and hours and hours after the event. So people were waiting for like 3, 4, 5 hours trying to figure out how they were going to get back to their cars, which were about 6 miles away, and they were freaking out, sending panic tweets out online. And ultimately, of course, they didn't blame Donald Trump, but they started making up all these conspiracy theories, blaming the Coachella mayor, blaming Democrats, and not the guy who actually organized the event, who does not give a damn about them. Let's do a little contrast now. Let's check in with what Vice President Harris was doing in North Carolina. Vice President Harris was speaking about the fact that Donald Trump has still not released his medical records, which is highly unusual. It's having people wonder, what is Donald Trump hiding? Is there an underlying condition there that he does not want people to see? Or is his team just afraid that people are going to see that he is too weak and too unstable? Watch Kamala Harris here.
And he's not, but here's the thing, North Carolina, and he's not being transparent with the voters. He's not being transparent. So check this out. He refuses to release his medical records. I've done it. Every other presidential candidate in modern era has done it. He is unwilling to do a 60 Minutes interview. Like every other major party candidate has done for more than half a century. He is unwilling to meet for a second debate. And here's the thing, it makes you wonder, why does his staff want him to hide away? One must question, are they afraid that people will see that he is too weak and unstable to lead America? Is that what's going on? So folks, for these reasons and so many more, it is time to turn the page.
By the way, just so you get a sense of the crowd in Greenville, North Carolina for Vice President Harris, check this out. And as Vice President Harris was bringing hope and optimism everywhere she went, we had Donald Trump bringing fear wherever he went. And Donald Trump was saying that America is now an occupied country. This is something that he is saying in every single city and state that he goes into. He tells people that their cities and their states have been completely taken over by migrants and that they have been invaded, and he is the only one who could liberate them. Watch this. This is an example in Arizona.
So we're now known all throughout the world as an occupied country. Can you believe it? They said, one of the papers said on another country that we are an occupied country. And you know what? They're not that wrong,
but these gentlemen will unoccupy us very quickly. It's really no different than if we had a war and lost the war, but to everyone here in Arizona and all across the land, I make this pledge. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It's going to be Liberation Day. It's going to happen so fast.
And as Trump was fear-mongering about immigrants the way he always does, Vice President Harris was at a Christian center in North Carolina speaking about the idea of loving thy neighbor. Watch this.
But Paul reminded them and us that God calls us not to become weary of doing good. Because we each have the power. God tells us this. The power, each one of us, to make a difference. And that tells us that the measure of our strength will be clear when we see what we can do to lift other people up. Just as Eddie did, and as the heroes and the angels in this church and all over are doing after these storms across North Carolina, Florida, and impacted communities, we are witnessing faith in action. So I close with this. Let us continue to look in the face of a stranger and see a neighbor. Let us recognize that when we shine the light in moments of darkness, it will guide our feet onto the path of peace. And let us always remember that while weeping may endure for a night, joy cometh in the morning. Thank you. May God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you, church.
Trump continued to fearmonger on his social media app. He posted this image with the text "open border equals packed classrooms." This is his attempt to scare people. Once again, trying to fearmonger about migrants. And when you zoom into this photo, you realize that this photo is entirely fake. It is AI generated. People's faces are all mishmash. People's heads are connected. People don't have fingers. This is an AI generated image that Donald Trump is using to spread hate and further divide our country. It is absolutely disgusting. Donald Trump was also spending his time yesterday ranting and raving about Fox News, which he thinks is not doing enough propaganda for him in this final stretch of the election. Donald Trump wrote, "Fox News spends so much time interviewing the other side that we must win despite them. So crazy. People like Fowler, Wolf, Murphy, and Tarloff," and he misspells Jessica Tarloff's name, "and others with little or no competent pushback. They want to be fair and balanced, just like CNN and MSDNC. Conservatives want a real voice. The two new readers, AN and ES on Now, are terrible." There's nothing conservative about Donald Trump. Real conservatives this cycle are actually backing the Democratic ticket because it is the only pro-democracy ticket, and frankly, it is the only one that is embracing actual conservative values, not whatever the heck it is that Donald Trump is doing, which is honestly just kind of Nazism at this point and authoritarianism. Donald Trump was on Fox, and this could be one of the reasons why he was upset with Fox. MAGA propagandist Maria Bartiromo was pushing back on Donald Trump about his tariffs, telling him that these tariffs would be passed on to the consumers. Donald Trump denied that's the case, even though that is 100% the case. Watch this.
What about the criticism, and the Journal has done this as well, that if you do put something like a 200% tariff on a product, that it's only going to mean higher prices for consumers?
No, it's not. No, it doesn't mean that.
It's got to be passed on somehow.
No. All I'm doing is saying, I'll put 200 or 500. I don't care. I'll put a number where they can't sell one car into the United. I don't want them to sell the car because I don't want them hurting our car companies. We're going to have a lot of companies moving into the United States. When I use 200, I'm using it as a number. I don't want their car. They will not be able to sell cars. I'm not going to let them build a factory right across the border and sell millions of cars into the United States and destroy Detroit further.
Donald Trump then told Maria Bartiromo that the biggest danger facing the United States is the, quote, enemy from within, who are people who oppose Donald Trump. And he said if necessary, he would send in the National Guard or the military to handle these people. This is very scary rhetoric from Donald Trump right here. Watch.
Let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You've got people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You've got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists.
Right.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
And as Donald Trump is rambling and going full fascist, the Democrats, the pro-democracy community, and Vice President Harris's team are ramping up their efforts to get out the vote. We saw an incredible group of people in St. Augustine, Florida yesterday in the downtown area who overwhelmed the streets, marching down, chanting in support of Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz. Watch this. Vice President Harris, in her closing message to the people in North Carolina, let folks know, listen, polls may be up, polls may be down, it's going to be a tight race, but we got to put in the hard work and we will win. And the crowd began chanting, we will win, we will win. Watch.
We are really excited to see each other. I couldn't be more excited to see everybody here, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a tight race until the very end. And we are running as the underdog, so we have some hard work ahead of us, but we like hard work. Hard work is good work. And with your help in 23 days, we will win. We will win. We will win. Yes, we will. We will win. So what we know...
And I think it's crucial that we all take Vice President Harris's words to heart there. There are going to be some polls that show her up. There are going to be some polls that show her tied. There are going to be some polls that show her down. But what is important is that everybody out there puts their heads down and puts in the work, and that's where you come in. First, most important, make sure that you vote. Make sure that if you're able to vote right now, go out, submit your vote, make it be heard. Second, make sure that your friends and family are going out and voting. Make sure that all your friends and family are registered to vote. Also, subscribe to this channel. Help us get to 3.5 million subscribers. We got to spread these messages far and wide, and you could do that for us. Hit the notification bell if you're already subscribed so to get notified of new videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.